Today, even before this prayer begins, the sky has already begun to move around you. There is something different in the air, a silent, firm, and completely directed intervention toward you. You did not arrive here by chance. When God wants to protect someone, He creates encounters that seem simple, but are totally guided from above. And in this exact moment, three very powerful presences approach your home. Saint Michael, with his sword that cuts all evil. Saint Raphael, with the healing that touches the body and the soul. Saint Gabriel, bringing light, direction, and good news. Feel. The atmosphere around you already begins to change. What was weighing down begins to lose strength. What was oppressing begins to undo itself. What was trying to reach you no longer has access, because when the sky decides to act, nothing remains as it was. No darkness survives the light that God sends. No plot of the enemy resists when three archangels descend to guard a home, and today, that home is yours. This divine touch is for you. This protection is entering your life right now. And while you breathe deeply, something realigns itself in the spiritual world. Everything that was confused begins to take shape. Every attack that was coming against you loses strength, and a new peace and deep, firm, unshakable begins to surround your heart. Stay with me, because with each word of this prayer, a layer of celestial protection will be placed over you, over your family, and over your home. Today, the three archangels take on the battle that you no longer can bear to fight alone. While you remain in this prayer, something begins to move inside your house. The walls seem to breathe again, the air becomes lighter, and peace begins to take shape. It is the presence of the three archangels crossing each environment, cleaning, purifying, and restoring everything that had been worn down by time, by struggles, and by the spiritual burdens you had been facing. Saint Michael positions himself before your door, cutting all evil that tried to enter. No dark influence resists his flaming sword. Everything that was hidden, everything that was heavy, everything that was trying to weaken your family begins to lose strength now. Saint Raphael passes through the interior of the home like a gentle wind, touching old wounds, silent pains, and dormant worries. What was unbalanced finds balance. What was hurting finds relief. What seemed impossible to resolve begins little by little to be healed. And Saint Gabriel illuminates each corner with the divine light that dispels confusion, fear, and discouragement. Where before there was uncertainty, direction is born. Where there was silence, an answer arrives. Where there was darkness, a clarity enters that renews hope. Nothing stays hidden when the sky decides to visit a home. Nothing remains broken when the divine light touches the invisible. Everything that was stuck begins to move. Everything that was trapped begins to loosen. Everything that was threatening you completely loses access. This is the moment in which God reorganizes the things that you no longer could carry alone. This is the moment in which the spiritual world aligns in your favor. And each word of this prayer opens more space for the three archangels to continue acting inside your house. As this prayer advances, the spiritual environment around your house begins to change shape even more intensely. What before seemed silent now reveals itself. Old weights detach, negative influences move away, and all contrary energy loses completely the authorization to remain in your home. Saint Michael rises as an unbeatable guardian. He cuts invisible ties, dismantles silent attacks, and undoes every plan that the enemy tried to form against you or against your family. Nothing that comes from the darkness manages to resist the strength of his sword. The shadows retreat. The wrong doors close. Everything that was trying to steal your peace is expelled in the same instant. Saint Raphael approaches like a balm that descends over each heart of this home. He touches illnesses of the body, wounds of the soul, memories that still hurt when you remember. Healings begin to happen in subtle and deep ways. Discouragement loses strength. Anxiety dissolves. The soul finds rest in the place where before there were storms. And Saint Gabriel announces liberation over this home. He breaks mental confusion, illuminates decisions, and undoes doubts that were holding you back. The light that he brings exposes lies, reveals what was hidden, and guides you to choices that restore your life. Where there was fear, courage is born. Where there was uncertainty, direction is born. Where there was insecurity, renewed faith is born. In this moment, the sky wages a silent battle inside your house, not to destroy, but to free, not to frighten, but to protect. Everything that does not belong to the light is being torn out. Everything that was weakening you is being broken, and everything that God prepared for your life is beginning to align before you. The three archangels remain there, firm, guarding each step, each room, and each heart of this home. Nothing that does not come from God will have strength to enter. Nothing that comes against you will prosper, and nothing that the enemy tried to raise will stand. Now, while this prayer continues, the presence of the three archangels begins to act in an even more intense way inside your house. That which was tired gains strength. What was broken finds restoration. And everything that seemed lost begins to align with the divine will. Saint Michael opens paths that had been closed for a long time. He removes invisible barriers, undoes spiritual delays, and brings down everything that was trying to impede the advancement of your family. Where there were locked doors, opportunities begin to appear. Where there was blockage, movement is born. Where there was struggle, victory arises. Saint Raphael extends his hands over each resident of this home. He heals the body, calms the mind, and restores the soul. If there were pains that medicine did not understand, they begin to lose strength. If there was accumulated emotional fatigue, it is dissolved. If there were illnesses surrounding the home, they are expelled by the light of divine healing. Nothing that affects health, physical, emotional, or spiritual, resists the touch of Raphael. And Saint Gabriel illuminates the future of this family. He brings direction where there was confusion, hope where there was discouragement, and wisdom where there was fear. If important decisions need to be made, he will guide each step. If worries about tomorrow were weighing on your heart, they find answer and rest. A new clarity invades your mind. A new confidence establishes itself inside you. This home begins to be rebuilt from within. Feelings reorganize themselves. Relationships gain lightness, and peace becomes real, not only in the environment, but in the heart of each person who lives here. What before was tension becomes harmony. What was division becomes union. And that which seemed impossible to resolve begins to be solved softly as a silent work of the sky. Everything aligns. Everything renews itself. Everything heals. Because where the three archangels remain, nothing remains broken. Their presence is healing. It is balance. It is life being restored. In this instant, while the prayer reaches its deepest point, the light of the three archangels completely surrounds this home. There is no space for fear. There is no space for shadows. There is no space for any force contrary to the will of God. Everything now belongs to the light. Saint Michael places himself in front of your house as an invincible warrior. His flaming sword cuts every attempt of spiritual attack, undoes traps, neutralizes envies, and ends cycles of disturbance. Nothing that comes against you will prosper. Nothing that has been sent to weaken your family will have power. Everything that does not belong to the light is removed and destroyed. Saint Raphael remains inside the home, touching each heart with healing and restoration. He strengthens health, renews emotions, calms internal storms, and dissolves burdens that you were carrying alone. Where there was pain, he places relief. Where there was fragility, he places strength. Where there was wear, he pours renewal, and St. Gabriel positions himself above, spreading his light over this entire environment. He guides each step, illuminates each decision, and leads this family to paths of peace, wisdom, and growth. If there were doubts, they dissipate. If there were fears, they vanish. If there was confusion, it clears completely. The divine presence seals this home from inside and outside. No darkness will survive here. No negative energy will find place. No enemy will have access. The house becomes a spiritual refuge, guarded, protected, and illuminated. What was instability becomes security. What was storm becomes calm. What was threat becomes nothing. Because now, in this moment, this home is under the unbreakable protection of Saint Michael, the permanent healing of Saint Raphael, and the guiding light of Saint Gabriel. May peace remain. May light remain. May protection remain. Today, tomorrow, and for all the days of this home. Amen.